Well, hello and good evening. And like I've said, give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you can hear me. Oh, I can hear myself on my phone. There we go. Let me turn that down. Perfect. So that's working. And I see at least one person in the chat. Hi, Niall. How are you doing, sir? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you jumping on board. And hopefully get to see you tomorrow in parallel play as well. Okay, so we got a wave back. Presume I can hear myself. I'm hoping you can all hear me too. This is becoming a regular thing. Hopefully, I get to keep it up on a Wednesday night. I mean, I'm not sure if you can hear it. It might be dogs barking, and family is still milling around the house as well. So you might hear some of that. But it is what it is. This is what having home offices in 2026. Before we get into it, I mean, if you're in the chat, I mean, Niall, I know where you are, but if you're watching along, I'd love to know where you're watching from. And the other question I put in there is, what's your biggest kind of creative blockage or challenge at the moment? And maybe we can talk through that. Also, thanks to the people who were here last week. I think I might have missed out on some of your messages. So I'm trying a different view while I'm looking at it now. So, and also, like, thanks to the people who watched it afterwards. And if you're watching along afterwards as well, please leave a note in the comment. Thanks so much to Marilyn, who was watching it from New Zealand. And thankfully, it's 9 a.m. in New Zealand right now. So hopefully that's a good time to be watching it. Not too early, not too late. And if you're watching in New Zealand, this might be the inverse. Because thankfully, for the past few days at the start of March here in the Northern Hemisphere, and certainly in Ireland, and I was talking to one of my clients today, and they're in Northern England, they're like, oh, it's the first couple of days I've seen sunshine. We're both appreciating that and talking about how much we were glad to be able to get out and walk the dogs in the sunshine and not in the rain. Because for most of the year since Christmas, it has been just grey and wet and miserable. And there has been patches where the sun's come out, but mostly it's been grey and wet. And for me, I really felt that slowed me down. It curbed my enthusiasm. It lowered my ability to be creative in any really serious way. And if you've been watching my video for a while, all the way through 2025, I put out a new video every week. But that hasn't been the case for 2026 because I got through Christmas and I got into January. I was like, oh, I'm going to run workshops. We're going to talk about all these things. We're going to get started. But that energy didn't follow through. There was a real lack of drive and motivation and push that I've often felt at the start of the year. But this year, I didn't feel that. I felt slow, and I felt the most like hibernating that I've ever felt in the winter. Maybe it's the age I'm coming to, but maybe it's also I'm trying to live a little bit more intentionally connected to nature. And I slowed down I definitely dropped the amount of runs I was doing, definitely kept, thankfully we have dogs, so they were getting us out of the house and still moving. Our kids still had to get to school. So all those things kept things moving, but I definitely slowed down on the amount of videos I was putting out from YouTube. And thankfully, I've mentioned this before, but I'm part of a hardware music collective, and they meet every month, and I actually played in January and in February. That got me working on the music. That got me going out and meeting other creatives in Dublin, in presence with each other, and actually having to put together a little set and being there for them. So that was forced me to keep kind of moving along. And it's only been the past couple of days and we've seen some sunshine and some warmth. The wind has switched around to the south and it's blowing warm air, or at least it was today when I was out walking the dogs. And, I was out without a coat and without a big fluffy hat, no gloves required. And it's it's just changed how I'm feeling, and it's substantially changed how I'm feeling. I'm feeling much fresher and more wanting to dig into things. I've done more work probably in the past, even in Monday and Tuesday, like more work on my business, more work towards like my goals, not necessarily creatively, certainly more catching up on business things than I have done in any 1 week in January or February. Because I struggled to feel that momentum and that energy. Excuse me. Let me just have a quick drink of water. And it just got me thinking about the seasonality of creativity. And the fact that there are seasons when we feel productive, when we feel that energy, when we feel freedom, we feel excitement, we feel like we're focused and we're moving towards a specific goal. Maybe it's a project, maybe it's a piece we're working on, and we continue to move forward. But then there's also seasons, and this is just natural, of reset and frustration, and where we're preparing things, where it feels a little bit more like admin and it's hard work. And sometimes it feels like pushing like a truck up the hill, and it feels like it's close to impossible. But often we actually crest the hill and we start going down, and gravity's with us and we're moving, and it's easier, and it's just that sense of flow. But I just want to say, wherever you're at in that ebb and flow of energetics or momentum, feeling organized, feeling together, that they're all seasons. And certainly you get to my stage in life, you've been through many of these seasons, and you understand the journey and that ebb and flow. And wherever you are, enjoy it, because there is a little bit of space, and there's often less demands when it feels hard. Even though you're focused in on one specific problem you're trying to solve, or one thing that's coming at you, or maybe it's many things. But like, this too will end. And in the same way that the sunshine today, at some point that's going to end, and that energy that's there is going to come to an end. And like I was saying, if you're watching from New Zealand, you're possibly starting to see the tail of the summer. You're starting to see the leaves change, and the days getting a little bit shorter. Like myself and my daughter were celebrating the fact that it's now after 6 o'clock that the sun is going down here in Dublin. And in the next couple of days, the sun will be coming up before 7 o'clock as well. So it's a real nice change. But I also think that there's an energetic start to the year in March, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere, because the spring equinox happens this year on the 20th of March. And that's when we're at that point where we really hit spring, in terms of that's when spring begins. But outside our house, you can hear the birds. I've seen more foxes moving around, and my dogs are loving lying out on our deck in the sunshine to sunbathe and to kind of dry off after their walks, because they're running in streams or even just wet grass and running through puddles. So they're really loving the fact that they can lie out there. And because it's a little bit warmer, we're more inclined to have the door open and have that just be part of the day and the interaction in the house. But that is all part of the energetic flow of our creativity and our art. And for everything, there's a season. The verse from the Bible is, there's a time to live and a time to die, a time to reap and a time to sow. And that is just a part of how the world goes. And I think when we're younger, we tend to live in our own little bubbles and ignore that, and maybe get frustrated with that. But I certainly think as I've gotten older, I'm more inclined to feel in tune with it, and to be able to go, okay, well, this is a phase, and this will come to an end, and something else is going to show up. And I think it's really important to just remember that. So just a word to you, like wherever you are in that cycle, to take a deep breath. And if you're not enjoying it at the moment, remember that will pass. And if you are enjoying it at the moment, relish it and appreciate it and be grateful for it and make the most of it. Great. Anyone else want to put in the chat where they're watching from and what they're working on at the moment? So just in terms of that piece, I am just making sure now that I have a little bit more energy. Like today, I started to clear out my studio. I've actually, when I wasn't feeling very energized in the past month, I was looking through my gear and going, okay, what of this gear is serving me, or what can I sell on and free up cash for different projects and for making sure I can, pay our mortgage, those sorts of things. And just kind of what's working for me, what's not working for me, and actually having the space and time to think that through was really helpful, even down to what, books or stationery, not just what music equipment, but what's on my desk, what's around me, maybe rethinking the space. And even our house, we've been doing the same thing. We've been working through trying to figure out what color to paint our living room. And just from that perspective, I think it's been really interesting to start looking at, well, what do we want that to feel like? And I think that's an important piece about designing your space and thinking about your space. Have you gotten everything out of your space that is distracting you or is getting in your way of getting work done? Are the things that you regularly pick up and stop you from getting to the things that are important? So I do think that even in the downtimes, there's things that you can do that maybe aren't super creative, but they might make room and make space for you to be creative in the future. I think that's about that piece there. So any questions in the chat, I'm happy to kind of have a look at what creative struggles or creative blocks you have. We can talk that through. And since I've had this space and this time and this energy, I've also been thinking about what else can I do for the community of people that want help with, and creative guidance. So this is one thing that I decided to start last week, and I'm going to keep this going for the next little while, see how we get on. I'm going to try to be consistent about doing this on a Wednesday evening, sort of evening time here in Dublin. But also, the other thing I've been doing is we've been doing parallel play sessions. And we've had 4, 5, 6 people joining. Some of them, there's one tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock Dublin time. And that, and I know that I've got somebody joining from San Diego and at 7 a.m. On the West Coast. But also tomorrow evening, I'm going to try something different as well. So for people on my email list, I already sent out a link to do a group coaching. So a bit like this, but we'll jump on a meeting and we'll kind of we'll play who's in the hot seat. And if anyone wants to come and share where they're at or what's going on for them, then we'll be able to work that through. And we'll do it together as a community. So if you want to do that, I'll put a link in the description where you can fill in a quiz and get a bespoke answer to where you're stuck. And then if you want to, I'll send you an invite to the meeting that's at same time again tomorrow, 8 p.m. tomorrow. So that's 9 a.m. New Zealand. And I think it's 5 p.m. Oh, no, 6 p.m. No, sorry, it's 5 p.m. in the West Coast. Oh, no, I'm making it all up. 3 p.m. Anyway, I'll put a link. It'll be on the email. It'll all be there. If you're on my email, you'll get a link to it. And I'll put a link in the chat in a few minutes for where you can sign up for a quiz that'll help locate you for your creativity. Chat's a bit quiet this evening, other than Niall. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you showing up and getting in the chat, getting yourself a little. Oh, hang on. Am I on the wrong thing? Yeah, okay. Great. I did that last week. I was on the wrong setting for live chat. I think I was. Okay. So, love to see what's coming up there. Okay. While I mention it, let me go get the link for the quiz. Give me one sec. This is a quiz I developed in the middle of last year. and it just helps to locate creatives who are wondering what is going on and what they're stuck with. So there's a link to the quiz. If you do want an invite either to Parallel Play or to the group workshop tomorrow night, maybe you don't want to put it in the chat now, but if you join up there, I will send you a bespoke response to the quiz. You'll get as you go through the quiz, it'll give you an answer at the end. And if you put in your email address, I will get back to you with a reply on. I'll have a look at your results and I'll get back to you with a personalized response on where you might be stuck. And it's specifically focused on people who are at that, kind of semi-pro, wanting to take it to the next step, who are pros, either artists, musicians, writers, photographers. I work with a few content creators as well, just to help people to get over their hurdles and get to where they need to go. But this will help to locate you and give you a couple of ideas on what you can do to move forward. And like I said, I'll get back to you as well with that. I don't know if you saw the Brit Awards, but I was really struck by the Rosalia performance of Berghain. Now, she was awarded the International Artist of the Year, and the wonderful Irish artist CMAT was crying at her table because she didn't get it, but Rosalia did get it. And in the middle of her performance, the crowd parts and Björk comes out and sings her line. And her line is, "The only way we can save ourselves is through divine intervention." And I think that's a real powerful statement to be singing to the world at this moment, because I think a lot of people are struggling looking at the news and everything that they're bombarded with, and I do think that it's really interesting. And for me, I really believe that creativity is the closest piece that we have to our divinity. I grew up in the Christian church, and it always struck to me in the Christian story of the beginning of the world, where God creates man and woman, but he says he creates them in his image. So what's he doing? He's creating, and he creates them to be like him. So I've always thought, so therefore we're creative. And I hope it's okay to mention that here, but it's part of what I grew up with. And but it's not the only example of creativity and creativeness discussed in the divine in religions around the world. But just for me, it feels like there's a deep connection there between, and I genuinely believe that part of my mission here is to help more and more of us to be creative, help more and more of us to step away from our screens, from consuming, and to start creating. And creating things of beauty, creating things of interest, creating things that make the world think and process and come at problems from a different solution, solve problems in new ways. I just think it's an antidote to an awful lot of the modern world. I don't mean modern world in terms of kind of going back to a previous time, but in terms of helping us to move forward, helping us to find new and increasingly interesting ways to solve the problems that we're seeing around us. I think that's one of the joys of creativity, and when we connect our humanity with that sense of inspiration, from whether it's from nature, whether it's from your life, whether it's from outside of you, whether that's a god, a universe, or a muse, whatever you like to describe it as, I just feel like there's such an important piece that we're able to create something that is beautiful and can transcend us and can explain and show the world in a different way. If you think about some of the most impactful pieces of music you've listened to, books you've read, films you've watched, how they have transported you somewhere else, how they've potentially changed you, through your interaction with them. And I just think that, us coming together as a community of creatives, no matter what your discipline is, that we can really help to push into creating something that's wonderful, that's lovely. And it doesn't have to be lovely in terms of it's twee and it's nice. It can be challenging as well, and it can take us out of our comfort zones. I've seen an awful lot of art and work that's done that. And I think that there's really interesting ways in which we can engage with the world, engage with society, and really help to figure out new ways to move forward. Hi to JX3 Gallery. Thanks for your comment. Appreciate that. You know about creative blocks for sure. Yeah, I think it's hard to be a creative and not have encountered some level of blockage. So I totally get it. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Anyone else who's watching along would like to share where they're at, or like give us a little insight into what might be getting in the way for you? Thank you all for being here and for showing up. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on creativity as a panacea for the world, or also your thoughts either in the chat or in the comments afterwards on what you think about the seasonality of our creativity, the seasonality of art, and just even the human interaction with the seasons as well. Because I just think it's such a powerful force for us. I'm gonna hold on a minute or two and see if there's any more questions there. And let me see, can I get another link for you while I'm doing that? Give me 1 sec. Okay, here we go. And another link for the chat. Here's the link to the parallel play sessions. Run the sessions 3 p.m. GMT, and which is 7 a.m. West Coast time in the US. And if you'd like to jump on and join us, we'd love to have you. It's literally just a time to block out a little headspace for yourself and make sure you're there getting some work done. Niall is in the chat, was already messaging me earlier on saying he hopes to make it along. He already detailed out all stuff he was working on as well, so it was cool to hear that and see that up front. And it's just interesting to see what people are working on, and knowing that there's a community of people out there supporting each other. And I think, like I said in the last session and in more of my videos, that I've been thinking a lot more about neurodiversity, but for myself, my family, but also with the artists and creatives that I work with as well. So if you're coming at this from that sort of space, I'm really aiming to kind of help and provide a space for us to all kind of get our work together. That's part of what promoted me to push into this parallel play, kind of body doubling scenario. Like even today, just was messaging back and forth with a friend of mine, and just for half an hour, we jumped in and just had a quick call, discuss what was going on in our days. That was it. Excellent. JX3 is back. Seasons, yes, there are seasons where creativity and being motivated and growing. Those ones where there's incubation mode. Both are important. And I am AUDHD artist. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that you brought that point in about incubation, because I'd missed it completely. That's really important, that we need the cycle of being able to be inspired and let it sit there and, to use your word, incubate. Let it just marinate, let it to run around as thoughts in our head, maybe to step back from the canvas and look at it clearly. I have a friend who's an artist down in Cork, and she tells the stories when she's working on a piece, and then when she walks away from it, she turns it around so it faces the wall. So she's not looking at it, processing it. It's just she's mulling it over in her head as opposed to tempted to pick up a paintbrush and keep working on it. And I think that's super important that we have that incubation period. And in the same way, I think that that's also where we can go and get inspiration from other artists, whether that's reading a good book, watching a movie. I actually have brought my record player up because we're repainting the living room. I had to make space downstairs to move things around. So my record player is right behind me. And one of my favorite albums there, Niels Fram, All Melody, has been on it a few times since it's been up here. So I think it's important to stop and enjoy that space and to allow it seep in and marinate. And I love that word, incubate. And so whether you're incubating or whether you're in full-on production mode, wherever you're at, appreciate you and appreciate you taking that work through to and hopefully out into the world. Great. Thanks to JX3 Gallery and to Niall McNally for jumping in the comments and the chat. We're nearly at half an hour, and I'm going to call it there. Thanks so much for joining, and leave any more comments down below, and subscribe if you like this. Click on the links and join us. And JX3 says, I'd love to hear your audio tracks. It's quite a setup you have there in live performances. I will put something in the description of this chat of this video, and you can see it there. There's one of my previous videos was about music. Actually, the video back in December about when I talk about Bjork. There's a link to one of my tracks there. But I can also link to I think one of my performances from Blue Group as well. You can share it there. But it's kind of a chill dub techno, and I've only realized recently that I've been drawn to that, but also a lot of people listen to that type of music for focus, and you know what? It's all coming full circle and making sense now. So anyway, thanks for asking. Cheers, Niall. Cheers, JX3. Thank you to everyone else who's been watching, and please like and subscribe for more. And I'll be here again next week. But obviously, feel free to jump into Parallel Play tomorrow, and then also we'll do a group coaching session as well tomorrow evening at the same time. All right, thanks for joining me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to stay creative. Bye now.